Well, victimhood pays, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Welcome back, everybody, and if it's your first time here, just plain welcome. The victimhood industrial complex, as I like to call it, is a phenomenon you've no doubt encountered. If you've been on the internet more than about 8 seconds, you've seen this. And Greta Thunberg is a prime example recently. Earlier today, I saw reports that the boat she was on was attacked by a drone. And this just in, we have the footage of the drone attacking, and it is a retard class drone. Watch this with me. That's right. They shot a flare into their own boat and it caught fire. Uh, I wish I could say I was surprised by this, but these people are idiots. But while it'd be easy to pick on Thunberg, especially considering her haircut these days, the truth of the matter is she's just the latest example of victimhood. See, people throughout the country, throughout the world now, don't see victimhood as a bad thing. Right? It's nobody should be shamed for being a victim. But it doesn't impart wisdom to you. It doesn't give you authority. It doesn't give you power. You experience something awful, and while sympathy might be warranted, a lot of people use this. They leverage this victimhood, and they try to bludgeon people who disagree with them because they're a victim. And a lot of times, they're really victims. Let's be honest. Some people experience some shit, and they want it to mean something. I may not agree with what they're trying to do, but I can understand where they're coming from. Awful things are a lot easier to handle if you can somehow turn it into a positive in your life. I mean, the guy who loses his mom to cancer and becomes a cancer researcher. That's it, to a certain degree. That is a thing. That's noble. We can respect that. Some people use that to get into public policy. I have a little more of an issue with that, but I mean, it's they have a right to it. They have a right to do that. But we've gone to this point where victims are given a level of gravitas and a level of authority that they don't actually warrant. Um, Somebody who gets shot can tell their story, but it doesn't make him an expert on gun policy. Somebody who survived sexual assault went through something undoubtedly awful, but did they really do, does that make them an expert on relationships, on men, on even sexual assault? Not necessarily. And that status becomes incredibly problematic when some of these people turn it into a shield against criticism. You can't take issue with what they say because they're victims. They experience this, and you can't know more than them. Well, the flip side of that is you get people like Thunberg who, and I'm not saying Greta actually is the one who did this. Her entire group falls under the umbrella of Thunberg. But Greta Thunberg claiming, her crew claiming that this was a drone strike was really the same as some woman claiming to have been sexually assaulted when it comes to debating public policy, debating gender laws, debating any number of things. Right? You can wear a mantle of victimhood, and a lot of times you can do it without actually being a victim because it's profitable. Right? It's profitable to pretend to be a victim and to take up a cause, which is when this becomes a victimhood industrial complex. It becomes about the money. It becomes about how to leverage situations into the best light for you. In this case, Thunberg and company knew that they were going to get mocked on the internet for shooting their own boat with a flare. It was much easier to say, no, we were attacked by a drone. They're trying to paint Israel as the bad guy anyway, so this just fits that narrative they're trying to push. And it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. What bothers me the most about it is that we keep letting it happen. This idea that victimhood conveys some worthy message, that you somehow get enlightenment in the midst of something horrible happening. Yeah, no, sorry. That's not an automatic. You know, a veteran who takes an anti-war stance because what I went through was horrible and I don't want anyone else to go through that is one thing. A veteran who their anti-war stance is based on their supposed expertise in geopolitics that they got because they did a tour of duty in Afghanistan is bullshit. Right? It's not about the veteran status, it's the way they're trying to leverage it as expertise in things they don't have. This is an appeal to authority fallacy in a lot of cases. And that's kind of what we're seeing with the victimhood industrial complex. They're granted expertise they don't have. And it's alluring to have that expertise because then you want to find ways to get that validation. I am an expert on how evil Israel is because they attacked my boat with a drone. No, it was a retard with a flare gun who didn't understand if you put the booger hook on the bank switch and pull, shit goes sideways. Then again, you know, these are probably people who don't believe in gun rights and therefore wouldn't understand gun responsibility. And a flare gun is kind of a gun. You shouldn't do that, dumbasses. Look, I could tell you all day long. I could find numerous examples. But you know the people. You've probably encountered people who think you cannot tell them anything about the broader subject because of their one experience. This makes them the expert. And while they're an expert on what they experienced, they're not necessarily an expert on the broader strokes. Some people learn more. It prompts them. But they become experts in their own right. And that's different. What they're doing otherwise, the idea of you can't tell me anything because I experienced this, is bullshit. Leveraging it to make a career by pushing this bullshit is an industry. And we need to knock off empowering that industry. So, let's do it. Let's make fun of Greta Thunberg, not just for her haircut, but let's start pointing out when people don't have any expertise and they're just saying they experienced something awful, therefore we need to do whatever they say. We have the power to shut this industry down. We don't need regulations. We need mockery. We need facts. We need to call these people out as fucking retarded pieces of shit who are trying to make us feel guilty for the actions of someone else. But at least that's my take. I want to know what you think. Go down in the comments. Tell me what's your take on this. While you're down there, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so you can find out when we have new videos. If you're interested, we're also doing a house building project. We've just started it. We're in the process of raising money. And the idea is for me to build a house without corporate America, without the woke corporations having any say in the matter. Preferably with as little input from the government as possible, just to see if it can be done. Can someone make their own home with their own two hands without having to get other entities involved? I know the government's going to have to be involved some, but let's minimize it. If you're interested in that, you can find me over on Patreon, where I'm giving behind-the-scenes looks and a bunch of other things there. But we'd love to have you. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up. And I'm going to see you all next time.